Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is Wednesday, which means it's time for our From the Field report with Latham Seed. Mark Grunmeyer joining us again this week. Hey, Mark, how are things going over your way?
Well, hey, good afternoon, Liz. Things are going very, very well. We're catching some much needed rain, and crops are looking pretty good.
We do have some crops that are just looking fantastic driving out and about in the fields. And man, that corn is just, I think it's just begging to keep getting some water, getting some drinks so it can continue to fill. And then it won't be long, and the combines will be hitting the fields and taking all that corn out, which will be a busy time for all of our farmers, as well as, well, I guess right now they're kind of busy scouting their fields and looking at what's going on for diseases and insect pressure. What are you seeing and what are you hearing from our farmers, Mark?
Well, I'm seeing, of course, a lot of good-looking corn, as you'd mentioned, Liz. The one thing that kind of concerns me has been some insects, both in the corn and the soybean crops. In some of the areas, especially in eastern Iowa, we're hearing of some places where they haven't received much rain lately that are starting to show some spider mites. And also some soybean aphids, and those are the two insects that seem to be, kind of rearing their ugly heads right now.
Well, and of course, with the drier conditions we had the last couple weeks, I can see where the spider mites might be popping out. But maybe we can hope with this rain that we're receiving this week that can hold off and keep those at bay as much as possible. But what are our farmers needing to do to take care of that if the weather's not cooperating?
Well, again, they kind of attack those areas where it's been the driest, and spider mites, especially in soybeans. We don't see too many mites in corn. They typically don't cause much of a problem there. But in soybean fields, spider mites really do thrive in those hot, dry conditions, and they just really need to get out there and look, and don't necessarily assume that the rain has kind of driven them away, because they can really be very, very damaging.
And by getting out there, you're talking our farmers need to be getting out and walking their fields, checking them. What is it they're looking for?
Well, what you're looking for out there with spider mites, and the best way to scout for spider mites, believe it or not, Liz, is to take a white paper plate. Spider mites are very, very tiny. They look like a speck of dust. And so if you go out there in the soybean fields and you take a paper plate and you put it under the canopy and you just take a bunch of leaves and you just shake them over that plate, and then look, and you'll see a bunch of little specks down there. Like I said, they look like just little dust particles. But if those little dust particles start to move, then you know you got spider mites, and that's the best way to scout for them that I know of. And really, there's not much of a threshold as far as when to spray for them. The biggest thing is to kind of look at your overall crop canopy, make sure that canopy is looking healthy. If it's starting to turn kind of a pale yellow or look a little sickly, chances, and then you find the spider mites, chances are you probably want to get out there and try and get some miticide, insecticide on them and get them sprayed and get them taken care of.
Well, another thing you talked about, Mark, is the aphids that are coming out and taking hold of the crop as well. What are our farmers looking for with the aphids?
Yeah, we've really seen an awful lot of airplanes throughout actually the whole state of Iowa. A lot of aphids being sprayed in the soybean fields especially. What we really look for is a threshold. With the aphids, there's been a lot more studies done on those recently, and so you're looking to go out there and scout. If you have, on average, 250 aphids or more per plant, and that has to be over 80% of the field, then it's probably a pretty good time to be spraying, especially if you're still in that, R3, R4 stage. Once you get past that, complete pod fill stage, then the aphids really can't do a whole lot of economical damage anymore. But up until that time, it's probably best to pull the trigger.
So we're out counting the aphid population, spraying the insecticide if it's warranted, as you just said. Anything else that our farmers can do to help with this control?
Well, one of the things that we've noticed over the years, Liz, is a seed treatment insecticide, obviously at planting, seems to really, really help hold down the aphid populations. And it might mean that the farmer doesn't have to spray, or it might mean he only has to spray once instead of twice to kill those aphids. It just depends a little bit on the year. But those seed treatment insecticides can really be very, very beneficial. And And I guess the other thing to think of, and if you're going to order Latham brand soybeans, we like to see them treated with Soy Shield Plus, which includes that insecticide, and then that farmer then qualifies for our 100% replant program.
So we know that the seed treatment can help to protect the soybean seed and the seedlings from the disease and the insect damage. But Mark, is there anything else our farmers need to do and need to think of when selecting their soybean seeds?
Well, absolutely, Liz, because in my opinion, that is the most important factor to achieve high soybean yields. And farmers really need to manage a number of different factors, whether you're talking disease, insects, soybean cyst nematodes, all of those things. And fortunately, many of these stress factors can be managed through careful variety selection. And to help make it easier, Latham Seeds designates their most defensive soybean products as what we call ironclad. And these defensive soybeans are also very high yielding, as we've said before. They really hammered a lot of the first trials in 2014 and did an excellent job as far as yield.
Mark, before I let you go, is there anything else you want to add for our farmers this week?
Well, I just think that remind them that we have agronomic tips on our website and also on our blog. We call the blog thefieldposition.com. And they can go directly to the blog, or they can go to our website and then access the blog from there. Every Wednesday, they get updates all across our 6-state marketing area. And on Fridays, we feature stories about foods and families, and it just takes really a minute to read that blog. And you can get a lot of news feeds through our company's Facebook page as well.
Mark, I know there's a big date coming up for Latham Seed. Can you tell our farmers about that? Give them one more reminder.
Absolutely, Liz. August 28th, here at the Alexander Research Farm, we're having our annual Seed to Soil Field Day. And farmers can come out and they can look at the different soybean and corn products that we have. We're going to have Chad Colby here again. He was very popular last year and brought his drone technology to the farm. And so they can see those UAV drones fly them around and get some information on what they can do for a farmer and for a farm operation. And there'll be just a lot of good-looking things. Enlist soybeans will be out here. Our first look at those here at our research farm. So a lot of good information, a lot of good fellowship, and a good time. Weather hopefully permitting, we'll have a great day.